I want to give Mr. Leggett an opportunity to come up and speak to us. Mr. Leggett? Our County Executive, Isaiah Leggett. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank all of you for coming out today. I had no idea that this was being planned. They kept it away from me because I probably would have objected and said, no, we did not need to do all of this. But a lot of the accolades and a lot of the things that have been expressed this morning about the accomplishments, I want to thank you because you're the heart and soul of what makes Montgomery County great. We receive an awful lot of thanks and praise for the tremendous job that Montgomery County does in so many different areas. I just had an opportunity before coming over here to examine some of the latest survey results that we've had regarding Montgomery County performance and services. And despite the challenges of recession, government shutdowns, situations, all of those things that have happened over the last few years, we've maintained and even improved quality of performance and services as rated by the residents of Montgomery County. That's due significantly to the work that you do and all that you've done to help me over the last 11 and a half years. I also want to acknowledge and thank my colleagues on the County Council because all of the things that I oftentimes do, or just most of the things that I do, require their approval. And they have been steadfast in working with me to make sure that we do the best for our county. So let's acknowledge Councilmember George Leventhal, who's here. Mark Eldridge, who's here as well. Thank you so very much. And it's really a real honor to be here in recognition of our veterans. I take pride in the work that our veterans have done over the years, men and women who have sacrificed so much. I was a little weary-eyed a few moments ago because as we talked about Vietnam, it reminded me of my college roommate. A young man by the name of Quillette Lyons, who grew up just like me in a very poor background from Louisiana. And in our freshman year of college, he did not have the resources to continue. And he had to step out to get a job to help his family. And in the interim, because he was not in school, he had been drafted and he was sent off to Vietnam. I remained in school. And years later, on my way to Vietnam, I realized that he had been killed by a hand grenade. A hand grenade killed him. And it killed an awful lot of other young men and women. And so when you see our veterans, you have to think about the shattered lives, the challenges, the sacrifices of them, their families, and so many others. Men and women of all races and creeds who gave up so much. Many of them never felt the warmth, the reception, and the praise for what they sacrificed. And if you have an opportunity, and if you have not done so thus far, go back and look at the film that was put out recently on the Vietnam War, and you'll see just what I'm talking about. And so for me, this is a very emotional moment because it brings back so much of what happened during that period. You heard a little bit about my background and experiences because it was a conflicting period. I had the opportunity to be the student government president of a very radical student body of about 10,000 students who were fighting and complaining against the war. And so on many days in college, as the student leader, I was leading protests actually against the war. On weekends, I was in uniform leading military troops around Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in support of the war. And so when you see that type of conflict and the struggles that I went through as a young person, it is difficult sometimes for me to absorb all of that in this type of a setting. It was a difficult period because the reason Quillette did not finish school, he didn't have the resources. He died protecting our country with leaders who knew that the war was not winnable, who still allowed the young men and women to be sacrificed in a way that they should not have. And so I stand here in recognition of all the Quillette lines and all the Vietnam veterans and other veterans you see behind me, including our former head of transportation, Art Holmes, and so many others, Mike Subin. There are so many people who have sacrificed. And so for me, fighting to make certain that we had a commission that recognized and appreciated our veterans was the least of the things that I could do. And I'm so honored to have done that. I am also honored that on the 27th of this month, I'll be renaming the Great Hall of the Civic Center in Silver Spring as the Buffalo Soldiers Great Hall in Silver Spring. I want to thank Mike Subin and David Dice and their background work, and Roberto Rodriguez and others to help make that possible. I also want to thank and acknowledge my good friend Saul Graham, who you heard a little bit earlier. Saul, I learned something this morning. Given Saul's age, I didn't know he could use a computer. But let me finally acknowledge the person who has been the wind beneath my sails, the love of my life, and the person who has done so much in Montgomery County. People do not realize it, but she has a full-time job down in Washington, D.C. She appears at so many different events, raising monies, supporting our community in extraordinary ways. That is our First Lady, Catherine Sharp-Leggett. Thank you.
Since Ike left the mic here, I thought I would pick it up. And I thought I would say that what you see in Ike Leggett is what I get at home. I get an adorable, God-fearing, loving, generous, thoughtful, wonderful man. And I'm going to have him back at home. Yay! So we all have been fortunate to have Mr. Leggett as our county executive. He has certainly lived up to what he said he would do. The number one thing I remember is he was going to invite people to the table that weren't there. And if there wasn't enough room, he was simply going to make the table bigger. And that is, in fact, what he has done. And I thank you for recognizing him. I thank you for acknowledging all that he has given to you, the employees, and to our county. And I thank you for working hard every day to lift up what he tries to do and the culture that he has tried to create in Montgomery County. So thank you, thank you, thank you.